If you paid attention to the combine, Anthony Richardson was the star of the weekend. And I remember having this argument with people during the college football season when Anthony Richardson was playing football, and people were telling me that when I would say stuff like, hey, Anthony Richardson's going to go in the top 15, he's going to go in the top 10, I promise you that, people would tell me, hey, he might not even leave Florida this year because he's playing so bad. And my response to that was Anthony Richardson's evaluation never had anything to do about how well he played football in college. Because for some players, and especially at the quarterback position, the evaluation is about projection. If the case were that your tape was held at the highest echelon for quarterbacks, especially coming out of college, Bryce Young would be the no debate number one overall pick. No debate, because Bryce Young has some of the best tape in college football. CJ Stroud has some damn good tape too, but they're going to value Bryce Young's tape, whether it's perception or reality. The SEC is just going to be valued over Big Ten tape. Just is what it is. And Bryce Young has a ton of really good SEC tape. Like, fantastic. Like, I mean, honestly, it's better than CJ Stroud's tape, because some of the stuff that Bryce Young does from a like just a tape standpoint is incredible. Like, his inability to lose guys on the field, his improvisational skills, I mean, just incredible stuff on tape. But the projection game knocks him down because he's small, he's skinny, and he don't throw the ball that fast. CJ Stroud has good tape, really good tools. He will probably go number one overall, or close to that, or be the first quarterback taken. Because again, there is some tape there that's like, hey, yeah, I like how he plays quarterback. You know, base level, he hits that, and also the tools and the projections there. But then there's Anthony Richardson, and oh boy, Anthony Richardson. So if you don't know, Anthony Richardson he's like 6'5", 240. Yeah, 6'5", 240. He's bigger than Cam Newton, taller than Cam Newton, bigger than Cam Newton. He ran a 4.44. I think the only quarterback that legitimately ever ran faster than him at the combine was RG3. And I think did RG3 run faster than Anthony Richardson did? I think RG3 ran a 4.38 at the combine in my God 2012, which was 10 years ago. That'll make you feel old if you were around. So RG3 ran a 4.41. A 4.41. Remember, RG3 was like, what, maybe 200 pounds, 6'3". Anthony Richardson is like 6'5", 6'6", 240. He ran 4.44. I mean, the athletic numbers are incredible with him. And this is what I'm saying. There are two schools of thoughts when it comes to drafting quarterbacks. There's one school of thought that believes in a quarterback floor. I am not one of those people. But there are some people, like, this is why Kenny Pickett gets drafted in the first round. They believe in a quarterback floor. They believe that the stuff shown on tape at college was good enough for them to believe that this quarterback at this level could only be but so bad. I don't think there is a floor to quarterback play because the margins are so tight that anybody can play like, what's his name out there? The Peterman, right? Anybody could put up Peterman numbers if put in a bad enough situation, if shaken of his confidence. Anybody can play like the Peterman in the NFL. I strongly believe that the floor does not exist because everybody can be horrible if you put them in the wrong situation. So if you don't believe in the floor and you only believe in the ceiling, That's where Anthony Richardson comes in, because to somebody like me, taking a chance on Anthony Richardson and taking a chance on CJ Stroud or taking a chance on Bryce Young aren't really that different of a thing, because I'm drafting for a projection. I don't want the player that you were in college. I'm drafting a player that I think you can be in the NFL with my coaching and my weight program and all this stuff that you would add into it, right? Like, that's the line of thinking that I think a lot of NFL teams have gone into because of the success of Josh Allen, who was a project guy when he got drafted, the success of Pat Mahomes, who was a project guy when he got drafted, right? Like, those two picks working out in the way that they did, I think changed how people look at the draft, because now the projection matters more and people are worried less about a floor. And I think this is why, coincidentally, we've seen better quarterback play, because guys are just willing to take chances on those guys and surround them with stuff. But Anthony Richardson is an extreme case of this, because, boy, Anthony Richardson sounds real great until you watch him play football. And I say the same thing about Will Levis, and I don't get the Will Levis hype, because Will Levis isn't Anthony Richardson and his tape is still bad. Anthony Richardson has these moments, and he might end up being Carson Wentz. He might end up being a more athletic, more capable version of Josh Allen. He could be Paxton Lynch. All of these are possibilities for Anthony Richardson, because a prospect like Anthony Richardson is one of unlimited potential, and unlimited potential is what it is. We think of unlimited potential as it can go up, the potential. But in reality, the potential just means where it can go. And where Anthony Richardson can go is literally unlimited. He could be the worst draft pick of all time. He could be the greatest draft pick of all time. Like, the potential is insane. Now, if you're GM, like literally, if you're GM, there is a great chance that he can get you fired. There's also a decent chance that he could get you put into a Hall of Fame. Like, this is what unlimited potential is, truly. Anthony Richardson is unlimited potential personified for all of the goods of that and all of the negatives. I have no idea if Anthony Richardson would be a good quarterback in the NFL. I stopped trying to buy low on these high ceiling guys after I bought low on Pat Mahomes, because I was like, well, he doesn't have good tape, so I wouldn't draft him, right? And then I ended up looking like an idiot. And I did the same thing with Josh Allen. Okay, learn my lesson. The high potential guys, you just got to see it play out. Now, if your team is in the market for a quarterback, I would love to know how you feel, because I feel like the same divide that's happening with GMs is the same divide happening with fans, where some fans want what they saw on TV was good already, right? Like, I saw Bryce Young be good at quarterback at the University of Alabama. Draft him. I saw CJ Stroud be really good at quarterback at the University of Ohio State. Let's draft him. And then there are some fans who go and say, I can imagine if you can get Anthony Richardson right, he could be one of the most dominant quarterbacks in the NFL. He could be an athletic force so dominant that to compare him to another athlete, we have to go to basketball. And the comparison you would use is Shaq, because we ain't never seen nothing like this. Like, Cam Newton was a unicorn when he came out the University of Auburn. Cam Newton wasn't running 4.4. Cam Newton ran like 4.7, and it blew our minds. This dude's bigger, taller, and runs a 4.4. if he works out, at least one MVP. It's the big swing. Do you just try to hit a double with the quarterback position? And think about where we're at too, right? Do you try to just hit a double at the quarterback position? Or do you try to hit the home run? Because hitting a double feels cool until you got to pay that contract. Then all of a sudden you're not so sure if you're going to be able to win the Super Bowl with the quarterback that you picked because you wanted to hit a double. Tua Tagovailoa comes to mind. Or you could try to hit the home run because you're looking around and you see Pat Mahomes. You see Joe Burrow in the AFC. Lamar Jackson is going to end up somewhere, right? People don't forgot about him. Deshaun Watson was up in that top 5 conversation. People forgot about him. And is Bryce Young going to be good enough to crack that conversation? Maybe you think CJ Stroud is. Maybe you think CJ Stroud isn't. But then you look at Anthony Richardson, you go, hey, man, if that works out, he's going to be in that conversation with Josh Allen and all of them. Do you try to hit the home run? Do you try to hit the double? Or do you split the difference with CJ Stroud? It is a fascinating conversation. It is a fascinating conversation with what do you do with Anthony Richardson? Because if you want to hit a home run, you got to draft Anthony Richardson. Not saying that CJ Stroud isn't going to end up being a really good quarterback. He might end up being a good quarterback. But CJ Stroud, if everything goes right, would not be better than Anthony Richardson if everything goes right, just based on physical potential. Now, quarterback is a mental game. You might want to factor that in. I personally would take CJ Stroud number 1 overall because he has enough of both for me to feel comfortable with that, right? But boy, if you're a gambling man, I can see you going with Anthony Richardson. I just think that is one of the more fascinating things about this year's draft is that whole conundrum.